Do you want to learn how to turn this into this? In this video, I'm going to show you how to dry your herbs for long-term storage. Hi, this is Jeremy Stark here from Green Thumb Gardener, here to give you some tips, tutorials, and reviews for all your gardening needs. In today's video, we're going to show you how to dry your herbs that you get in your garden, and so that you can store them for long term. At the end of the summer, you're going to have an abundance of basil and maybe oregano and maybe some sage leaves and all other kinds of herbs that you have. Now you can use them fresh in your cooking, and that's what I do throughout the whole summer. But when you get towards the end of the summer, you're going to have so much of it that you might be able to give some of it away. But in this video, we're going to show you a very simple way on how to actually dry your herbs so that you can store them for long term. I recommend is that each year you do this, and basically you'll have a year's supply of herbs that you need for very little time and effort. We usually will take our herbs and we'll dump it out after the end of the year and use the ones that we get for the new harvest in the fall time. It just because that also helps with keeping it fresh. So we'll show you a very quick and easy way on how to do this. So in today's video, we're going to go over a very simple way on how to dry your herbs. Let us know in the comments below what other things do you guys do with your harvest below. Just drop a comment in there. We'd love to hear what else you guys like to preserve and things like that. If you do find this video helpful, please give us a green thumbs up and let us know we're doing a good job with our content. Also, if you could, hit the subscribe button down below. Hit that little bell too. That way there you get notified of all the videos that we do have. Also, we do have a website called gardenerthumb.com. If you ever wanted to, take a look at this, I do usually put directions out there on how to do everything, so it's a little bit easier if you want to read it. Now that we get that out of the way, let's get right into the show. Now, I don't know about you, but when you get your garden going, you're gonna get abundance of herbs and everything. And I love just picking these things fresh throughout the summer, and basically just using them in all my cooking and things like that. But at the end of the year, when it starts getting cooler out, these things are gonna just basically just die once the cold weather hits. So that's usually a good time to basically just see what you got, and you can actually dry these and store them for the full year. Usually one plant that one basil plant is dried is well enough. Basil for most homes, to use throughout the year. For the basil, what I do is in my garden, I would just take clippings off of all the particular basil, because I like to do it all at once. Now you can do it piece by piece and everything like that, but I find that it's easier to just do everything all at once. So basically, what you'll need is some kind of dehydrator. Now this particular one that I use is just it was pretty basic. I think it was like $30 or something like that. They have some more fancy ones that have all these shelves and you pull out, but this one is very simple. It's basically just a couple of trays in here, and then it's just something that dries everything, and it has a temperature guide. You can also use your oven for this. The thing about your oven is you have to have a very low setting on it. I think I've dried some herbs maybe at 170. On this particular guide, it actually says 95 degrees, but if you have an oven, what you can do is you could turn it on to 170, and then maybe after an hour you turn it off, and then you check on it after a few hours after that, if you just leave the oven door closed. That might be a little bit, you have to kind of monitor it, but you basically don't want to have it too high of a temperature, because you don't want to cook the herbs. You just want to dry them out. You're just drying the water content that's out of the actual herbs itself. So basically, if you just use anything that you have, whether it's the oven, the other method that you can actually do is if you hang them upside down, you put it in kind of a dry area. Some people actually put it outside, maybe on their porch, and you kind of just have it hanging down, maybe from a string or something like that, or even in your house, you can just hang it up on the wall. That's also another way if you don't have an oven that can do that, or But in this video, we're just really going to show you how to do it in here in the dehydrator. What you do is, whatever particular herbs that you have, you can do this for. So for this one, I did basil. This is, I just cut these yesterday, so it looks a little funky. But I just cut them right off on the stem. I also have some sage that I also did the same thing. I cut off on the stem. And then the other thing that we did was, we didn't have a lot of parsley, but I did cut some of that off. And then the other one this is the one that I really love. This is oregano. So I basically went in and I literally just cut, like a whole mound of it right here. So that's all you really have to do. You want to just basically gather up all the ones that you're going to need for this. When you're drying these, the best way that I found is if you can basically take them off of their stem. So for the sage leaves, these are pretty big. You can just basically take these off. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick these leaves off just like this. And basically the reason is you're not drying the actual stems of this. You're just drying the actual leaves. So you don't want to put in more than what you need in the dryer because it'll take longer for it to dehydrate everything. So the same thing for the basil. So what I'll do is I'll pick all the basil leaves off and I'll leave the stem behind. Now for the oregano or for any other herbs that you have that, maybe oregano, I think thyme, these are really small leaves. So what I actually don't mind doing for these ones is I leave them on just like this. And then what I'll end up doing is we'll strip them down. So basically when they dry, they just strip down from this and then you just, put the stem in maybe your compost or throw it away. But these are they're small enough that you don't want them to go through because if you have one of these things that dehydrators, as you can notice, there's like little cracks in here. So the big leaves will be fine on here when you have them on here. So those will actually work fine. But these things, if you just started picking up the little ones, not to mind you that it's also would be a lot of work. I just put them on just like this and these actually dry pretty fast. So I'm not too worried about these not drying. The bigger leaves is what they do take a little bit longer to dry, so you definitely don't want to have all the stems in there. But for the oregano or like say thyme, maybe rosemary, you can just leave them on the stem and then you pull them off when they're actually dry. I'll show you basically how I line everything up on here. Okay, so for this, I basically got all the basil off of this. So one of the keys to doing this is that you don't want to have too much on here because it's going to take a lot longer to dry. So what I do in this instance is I just pick everything off first, and then I kind of just lay it out on the different trays. So if you have a different dehydrator, you'll just basically put it on the individual trays that you have and use whatever you have for space. So I try to lay it out so that it's not too crowded because it'll be better for the airflow in here, and they will dry much quicker if you spread it out. So I do have a lot of basil, so I'm gonna probably put it on three different ones. And the more you spread it out, the faster it will dehydrate and it'll dry out. So don't think if you just put this on and it just goes on and you wonder why these aren't drying. It's because there's too many of them in here. The other thing that you want to be mindful of is if you have any stems, they're gonna also add to the moisture in here, because what these do is they basically just dry everything out. So the more stems that you have in here, the more moisture you're gonna have. So I kind of go through and I get all the stems out if I can on this. And it doesn't have to. You don't have to get every single last bit one of them, but it is just helpful to get as much as you can out of that. You see how it's kind of spread out, so it's not too much all in here, and I got try to get all the stems out if I can. All right, so that one's another tray. So I'll show you the other one that we have. Now, I'm not going to be able to do all of them on this particular tray that I have, but I wanted to show you the kind of the different ways that I do it. So you get an idea with the leaf ones, like I said, with the sage and then the basil. When you actually get the ones that are kind of stemmy like this, you want to, these ones actually, I'm not too worried about crowding them too much because they're actually, the oregano, they're such small leaves, and the thyme as well, is I find that these just dry very quickly. And you can actually leave these out. I've left these out on the counter just in my air conditioning home, and it just, I think after 2 days they were pretty much dry. I mean, really dry that you can store them. Okay, so just to give you an update on the dehydrator part of it. So I had the herbs probably on there for about 7 or 8 hours with about 95 degrees. Now this may the time may vary for your particular dehydrator, so you just want to make sure that you check the directions of your particular dehydrator. But just want to give you a quick look just to show you what it looks like once it's done. As you can see, this is the basil, and these are pretty dry. You want to go through and just check just to make sure, because some of the bigger ones or the ones that are bunched together, they may need continual, some more continued drying. But you'll know that it's dry when you touch it, and it basically breaks apart and it's pretty brittle. So this will be for the basil, and then the other ones that we had in here was the oregano. So as you can see that the oregano, this one is also dry as well, and you can basically touch it. For the touch, you'll notice that it is brittle. So the next step for this basically is you just want to put this on a plate. I would put it on a plate, and then I would scrape off the leaves of this. And then for the basil, I basically do the same. And you can basically just crumble this right up and store it in an airtight container like you would for any of your herbs that you have in your spices. And that's really it. That's really the simple way on how to actually, do this for basically for your herbs and things like that. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do, please give us a green thumbs up. Let us know that we're doing a good job on this content. Also, if you could, subscribe below. I think it's that over down there. Subscribe below and hit the bell so that you get notified of any of our new videos that we do post. Also, we do have a website called gardenerthumb.com where we'll have tips and everything for this as well as this. We'll post some particular directions out there as well. Well, and as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.